Okay, then, so let's start. Good morning, everyone. Hope you have had a good summer, and welcome to this second webinar for the TrustChain Open Call 2 related to user privacy and data governance. So let's deep directly into the presentation. So what is a TrustChain? The idea with that project is to foster a human-centric, trustworthy, and sustainable internet. So this is a European project funded under the call CL4 Human 0103. And the project is part of the European Commission Next Generation initiative. What are the overall objective of TrustChain? This is to achieve a human-centered, trustworthy, and sustainable decentralized internet. And the idea is to empower innovators and end users through 5 open calls to create a portfolio of next-generation internet protocols and an ecosystem of decentralized identity management software solutions. That are transparent to the user, interoperable, privacy-aware, regulatory compliant, and that can seamlessly integrate and interoperate with any of existing decentralized applications. So TrustChain is a cascade funding project. What does it mean? It means that we are organizing these 5 open calls for the potential applicant. And each open call has a specific objective, scope, and a specific also fund related to it. So 5 open call. The first one, open call 1, decentralized digital identity, that is now running. The open call 2 regarding user privacy and data governance that we are going to speak about today. The open call 3 about economics and democracy. Open call 4, multi-chain support for NGI protocols. And finally, open call 5, green, scalable, and sustainable DLT. As you can see, each of the open call can give some input to the subsequent one and vice versa. They are all steered by a regulatory framework, a human-centered design framework, and a market framework with the business potential. So let's focus on the open call 2. The overall approach, in any case, whatever the call, is to adopt a co-creation process with engagement of end users since the requirement specification phase till the validation of the proposed solution. So this is really important to consider this. We are working for the end user, and we have to take into consideration their needs and embed the specification in the development of the solution. One other important requirement is to provide democratic, transparent, traceable, and regulatory compliant mechanisms that can support any ecosystem of entities and actors participating with their digital identities. And one, again, important requirement is to use decentralized digital identity architecture together with IoT, AI, cloud-to-edge, DLT and DT, and embed in such a solution important societal goals in accordance with objective truth and therefore trustworthiness. So trustworthiness should be also the guiding aspect of the project, your solution. So let's deep in TrustChain Open Call 2. And we will speak first of all about the objective of the call, and then what do you need to explain in your proposal we will elaborate a little bit on frequently asked questions, and then the floor will be yours. This is really important that you ask all your question, and we will try to answer all your requests. So you are all aware that the deadline of this call is the 20th of September at 5 p.m. The budget for this call is around 2 million, distributed among up to 17 selected projects that will implement their proposal during 9 months. Each project can get up to 117k euro. And the focus is on trustworthy online platform that preserve user data privacy and provide strong data governance framework. So you are invited to submit your proposal on any topic that serves the Open Call 2 vision and objective, with as minimal requirement. It's a recall for some of them, to adopt a co-creation process with an user from requirement elicitation till validation, to use standard technology for full stack development. Your solution must be open source and desirably reach TRL 7. And your solution, of course, should extend the state of the art in the domain of user privacy and or solve existing real-world problem with data governance and provide new highly usable software. So these are the minimal requirements. I will speak a bit more on other aspects. In particular, you should develop tools, cryptographic mechanism, and other algorithms for data handling and sharing, as well as for management of data lakes in compliance with the GDPR and other regulation. Your solution must implement techniques such as mechanism for multi-party data sharing, protocol for privacy preserving data sharing using techniques from technologies such as federated learning, both vertical and horizontal framework. Embed also privacy preserving data processing, data storage, and data computation technique, such as differential privacy, data obfuscation, perturbation, anonymization techniques. You should also consider encrypted data analytics based on homomorphic encryption and trust execution environment. Protocols to verify authenticity and accuracy of data using technology like zero-knowledge proof, and protocol to support the digital sovereignty-based data flow and data space initiative. Data identification, data provenance, data tracking mechanism or protocol should be built so that the data that is exchanged can be tracked, so that trustworthy data handling according to the user consent can be verified. So what are we looking for? And this is indicative. So we are looking for application that will clearly define, upgrade, extend the state of the art, and develop the following type of solution. So, for example, enhance consent profile to implement transparent and user-friendly consent mechanism that clearly explain how user data will be collected, used, and shared. Data minimization and purpose limitation technique built in the web framework so that only necessary data is collected for legitimate purposes. Secure data exchange and privacy-aware data processing must be the cornerstone of the new data economy. So privacy of training data machine learning model and model parameters should be aimed for. You should also consider developing new privacy-preserving data flow techniques in line with international data sharing agreement so that the user has choice to tune data parameters for trading, sharing the data. Develop new mechanisms in line with the international data flow standard so that the data can move freely within the EU and across international borders, including USA, Japan, and China. Data identification, data provenance, data tracking mechanisms should be built so that the data that is exchanged can be tracked. So handling of the data according to the user consent provided in a data exchange should be verifiable. Data certification, verification methods should be developed to verify the trustworthiness of the data. Modern privacy-enhancing technologies such as local differential privacy and other interactive privacy techniques, taking also into account online publicly available dataset that can be linked to the original data. Data obfuscation, perturbation, and anonymization techniques, or their combination that properly address the trade-off between privacy preservation and data utility. So you can, in your solution, identify one of these aspects or mix several of them. What is important to explain in your proposal? So first of all, I just would like to emphasize on the fact that the TrustChain proposal template is mandatory. And what do you need to explain inside? These are the specific aspects. So the specific technological innovation you propose to develop and how it is clearly different from alternative solutions that are already available in the market or developed by previous European research and innovation action. So you should clearly demonstrate the novelty, the originality of your solution compared to the state of the art. The second point is about specific user privacy and data governance needs or challenge that you propose to address and who would benefit from it immediately and in the long term. In particular, you should clearly specify the open call to challenges you are going to address. On top of that, you should also consider any challenges or opportunities relating to equality, diversity, ethics, and inclusion arising from your project. As for recall, it is important to indicate any link with human rights and other aspects of this kind. You should also mention whether your innovation will focus on the development of new solutions for existing area or will be a totally disruptive approach or idea. Once again, here you should clearly justify why you will develop on top of existing solution or develop a completely new solution. You should also state on any work you have already done to respond to this need. For example, if your project focuses on developing an existing capability or building a new one, it's related to the previous point. So all the time, please clearly justify what you are doing compared to the state of the art. The state of the art is the one that you can already develop, but also, as previously mentioned, existing solution available in the market or other EU research and innovation action. The next point is also to consider and to explain how your proposed solution will align with the building blocks developed as part of the Open Call 1 on digital identity. So it has to be related with the Open Call 1 scope. And finally, but not least, explain how you intend to engage end user in the co-creation process from user requirement elicitation till the validation of your solution. We put a lot of emphasis on this because once again we are trying to solve real-world problem of end user, and it is really important that they are engaged in this co-creation process. So some frequently asked question. Actually, what are the Open Call to TrustChain timeline? So maybe just to recall, the deadline will be the 28th of September at 5 p.m. Then there will be an evaluation period up to 3 months after the call closure. The next step will be the signature of the subgrant agreement if you are selected. And it can last up to 1 month after the announcement of the final list of selected projects. And finally, the project implementation that we intend from January to September 2024, so 9 months for the implementation of the project. What is a cascade funding project? Also known as financial support to third party, it is a mechanism of the European Commission to distribute public funds in order to create new companies, increase their scalability, create SMEs and or mid-cap companies and support them in the adoption or development of digital innovation. The main objective of this financing method is to simplify the administrative procedure with SMEs and or other entities, thus allowing some projects financed by the EU to issue intern open calls to obtain more funding. So where does the funding come from? It comes from the European Commission. So bear in mind that the funding is given by the TrustChain project under a sub-grant agreement signed by selected applicant and the TrustChain consortia. Yes, the funds are from the European Commission that are uses by TrustChain as intermediary. How does the funding mechanism work? The funding mechanism relies on a cascade funding scheme involving Horizon Europe funds. The scheme is based on a grant agreement signed by the European Commission and the TrustChain consortium partners. The consortium partners receive the EU fund, which are then transferred to the winner of the TrustChain open call based on the rules and regulation explained in the guide for applicant. It means that the funds received by call winner are Horizon Europe fund. So who is eligible for TrustChain open call? So applicant can apply as individual or linked to a legal entity, and the participation is possible in several ways. Team of natural person, so teams of individuals all established in any eligible country. This does not consider the country of origin, but the residence permit, and we can consider a team of natural person where there is at least 2 individuals that are mentioned in your proposal. But of course, be careful to be sure to have the capacity to implement your proposal this will be analyzed by our external evaluator. One other form is a legal entity. So one or more entity, in that case, this will be a consortium established in an eligible country. It can be universities, research center, NGOs, foundation, micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise. So you can see the definition for SMEs in the recommendation of the European Commission. A large enterprise working on internet and other related technology are eligible. Maybe here to emphasize that also academia can be part and can apply to the open call as legal entity. So it was already mentioned. So universities, research center can be part of this open call. The next question, what are the countries eligible for funding under TrustChain open call? So these are typically the ones identified as eligible country by the European Commission, in particular the member states of the EU, including their outermost region, the overseas countries and territories linked to the member states, and the Horizon Europe associated country as described in the reference document and the list of participating countries in Horizon Europe. So I encourage you to refer to this list, and you have the link in the guide for applicant for that. One other question. Can I submit several projects to one specific call? Open calls are competitive. You know it better than me, and the applicant should focus on one specific topic. So TrustChain Consortium recommend you to submit only one application per call, whether you are a legal entity or a team of natural person. In the event of multiple submission, only the last one received, timestamp of the F6 system where you are going to submit your proposal, will be considered for the evaluation process. Any other submitted proposal involving the same applicant will be declared non-eligible and will not be evaluated in any case. Can I apply to TrustChain 5 open call? Yes, you can, but note that the maximum funding eligible per third party within the TrustChain project is limited to 200K. So be careful regarding the composition of your team if you are a consortium, and try to adapt if you want to participate in the 5 open calls, so that the budget that you will receive does not goes above this 200K. This is something also that will be evaluated by our pool of evaluator. And from my side, that's it. Now, I think we should move to the question and answer. I just want to recall before that you have access to the first webinar that we have produced early August on our website. So here you will find some more information regarding the evaluation process, etc. And now, yes, the floor is yours. So please post your question in the Q&A box, and we will take them one by one and answer to them one by one. So let's start with the first question. would you share the presentation file? That would be very useful. So yes, this is something that we intend to do in the following days. And in any case, as mentioned previously, you can already go back also to the first webinar presentation that will bring you also different aspects that you need and complementary aspects. So you please just have a look to our website, and yes, from time to time, and yes, you will see very quickly this presentation there. The next question: can be a partner with a company incorporated in UK to form a consortium? Will it be a disadvantage due to the exit of UK from EU? So yes, this is possible, and no, it won't be a disadvantage. There will be equal treatment for that. So no issue with this. The partner will be considered as a normal partner. Next question. In the template, there is a bullet point that mention what would be the benefit for TrustChain large-scale pilot. What is exactly TrustChain large-scale pilot? The whole TrustChain project, including all 5 TrustChain open call. So maybe I will give the floor to Raj if you want to answer to this question.
Would it be possible to run large-scale file? What is exactly large-scale?
Do you want?
Yeah, I think the idea is to say, if you can really get this when the project is all integrated together from all the 5 trust chains. So what it emphasizes is the project should not be in isolation. And this is why, if you see from the presentation, there is an emphasis on linking these with OC1. So the idea is to make sure as we build from OC1 to OC5, all projects somehow try to collaborate in such a way that when the final trust chain ecosystem is built, that we could run a large-scale pilot in a sense, for example, in a healthcare or banking domain, to see how these multiple projects that have been brought together through TrustChain can interoperate. So it kind of shows then some of our hypotheses we defined at the early stage of this project, that it needs to interoperate, it needs to be, work across different European countries, and it should not be sector specific. So that is what we are trying to emphasize here. So the large case pilot is what I've seen already, which we are emphasizing. We are coaching the first call projects. And one of the things, because as you clearly know, this project is heavily driven by the end users, and building these use cases where we really can demonstrate how this operates in a real world scenario. And we have the cyber volunteers who can tell more about it. One of the things I've seen in the first open call 1 projects that are currently running, we need to really push them to go into this, looking at larger scope rather than being just in silos. So we want to avoid these silos, and we want to make sure projects somehow can collaborate and make it as a bigger ecosystem where they can all operate among themselves or across the different projects. That's what it roughly says, that large-scale pilot is, we want to make sure that it can work without any flaws, which is a challenge. And that's why I can share my own experience from OC1. We are encouraging projects to work together at the moment so they understand each other. So if a digital wallet is built on one project and the other project is doing something that makes use of digital wallets, we are trying to see how that one of the digital wallets that's been built can be used across multiple projects to act as a wallet to provide, for example, the verifiable credentials. And that's quite important. And I think this is where you should go and look at the OC1 funded projects. They are already available on the webpage to think through. Most of the company names are there. You can see what kind of background these companies come with. And I advise you start thinking what kind of larger scale things you can run at a later stage, not just do some simple example for a payment gateway. We don't want to do that just for one thing. We want to make it as a larger scale that it can operate across many sectors and countries. Hope that explains.
Thank you, Raj. Indeed, I think it was clear. So next question, would you rather integrate with the last open call product? So I don't want if you had something, Raj, on that.
Yeah, I think it's
quite linked to the previous question.
Yeah, I think it's we would love to have that, because that's the idea, as I explained previously, that we would write to see if these projects can be integrated. But at the same time, since you don't have exposure to the project, the nuts and bolts of it, it might be quite difficult for you to integrate at this stage. But as a simple example, what I've seen from the OC1 calls is there is no point 10 projects creating digital wallets or privacy preserving digital wallets or having zero knowledge proof in 8 projects. We rather use the zero knowledge proof API, which is interoperable with across the other wallets, and then use it for a privacy preserving scenario or an architecture that you want to propose for either using a data sharing platform or for data lakes or something along those lines. So that's what I said, try and look at the OC1 projects that are funded and then try as best as possible to think through logically what kind of things you can build on top of these OC1 funded projects. And if you can make an attempt now, and if you're successful and if you're funded, it'll make it easier for you to integrate. As I gave already an example that we have made a couple of projects to use an existing company which provides many wallet designs to European companies rather than building your own wallet again. So we don't want to kind of reinvent the wheel. We want you to make use what's out there. So my advice would be to just look at the OC1 and try as much as possible to align, if possible, from the knowledge that you can extract from the OC1 calls that are published on the TrustChain webpage. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. The next question, actually 2. So in table 2 of the template, table of deliverable and milestone, we should insert also deliverable and milestone description. However, due to space limitation, it is hard to fit more than 10, 15 words. Is this acceptable? Yes, of course, it's acceptable as far as the definition or the description of your deliverable is consistent and clear. And of course, related to the other part of your proposal. The question 2, in the same table, is it acceptable, again, due to space limitation, to use just D1, D2, D3 for deliverable or milestone name without any further words? Actually, I just want to recall that in TrustChain, there is 4 deliverables that are mandatory. These 4 mandatory deliverables are already named D1, D2, D3, D4. So you should, of course, adopt this terminology when it is linked to the 4 mandatory deliverable. If there is added deliverable that you want also to mention, please, you have to just in few or in bracket indicate at one point that these are the extra deliverable that you are speaking about. So just refer to this content into bracket, and yes, it will be fine. So I think that's clear. In any case, if you need more details, please just re-put a question in the box. Coming back to a previous question, so I mean integration with other product should be considered or not. So I don't know, maybe Vlado, if you want to
yes, why not?
To elaborate a bit more?
Thank you, Caroline. So hi, everyone. I think, yes, for sure, we do have specific topics of consultation or, like cross-cutting topics of technical nature. For example, in the area of quality, the area of standards being used, the area of data formats, also wallets and exchange of proofs between different dApps and so on. So we are in the process of identifying in this TrustChain architecture cross-cutting technical topics, and also from the viewpoint of what is generic and what is less generic and more specific. For example, solutions related to NFTs are more generic, and if any usability of NFTs in a very specific context with very specific supporting functionality would be developed in the course of a new project, that we intend to see that the basic services this new project or proposed project can interoperate with the basic or already funded projects and their results. So generally speaking, we will consider quite a lot of synergies between the projects. Does this answer the question?
Thank you. I think yes. Let's see if we will add another question on that topic. Thank you, Vlado. The next question, is it possible to present a proposal for the development of open source tools, so in bracket APIs, libraries, smart contract, that will facilitate the adoption of privacy-enhancing technology previously developed with EU funding? So maybe I will give this question to Thanasis from NKUA.
Just so if I got, yeah, now I see it. Yes, you can actually use whatever technology that has been developed in previous projects. The thing is that you have to have sufficient content for this project that is going to be funded by TrustChain, and in deliverable 1, you are going to be asked, and also in the proposal, you are going to be asked to clearly define the background, what has been developed already, and the foreground, which is what is going to be developed within TrustChain. And if there is sufficient content to be developed within TrustChain project, then you will be eligible for funding, otherwise not. That's the answer. Otherwise, I mean, of course, this NGI project is about reusability of existing developments, and this is a very important component, especially NGI-funded developments. So prior NGI-funded developments can be continued in the course of TrustChain, of course, under the provision that there is sufficient content to really have a good excuse for being funded by TrustChain. That's the answer. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything more.
So it seems not. So thank you, Thanasis, for this answer. The next question, could you explain the connection required with Open Call 1 outcome? So we are turning around this, and maybe I will give back the question to Raj.
Yeah, I think as mentioned already, the Open Call 1 was around digital identity. So most of the projects are around using the digital wallets, using verifiable credentials and dates and other kind of aspects such as zero knowledge proof. So I think, as I said, it's very difficult because the projects have just started, been a month or so into their work. So they are very early on in terms of where they're defining the requirements for those projects. But I think it'll be great if these projects can somehow link to digital identity and how somehow that can make use of the digital identity as part of your project that you're proposing. That's how far we could think at this stage, I think. So be as flexible as possible in terms of using some of the existing, for example, EDAS framework is being pushed for interoperability across many of the projects. So how will you align your project to make use of, for example, the EDAS framework could be one way to think. How will you connect your projects with the OC1 call projects funded?
Thank you, Raj. I think the next comment will be also for you. So the person, the applicant here said, I had the same thinking and I approve your proposition 100%. How can this be possible if none of the projects are publishing their API, including TrustChain API? If any of those would take the step to publish the API, it will give confidence to the applicant of next open call. Thank you for considering. So I don't know, Raj,
I can answer. So I'm mentoring 3 projects. Out of the 3, 2 have already started putting things that can be on the public API, so other projects can make use of. And 2 projects have also started sharing the API so that projects can make use of the open API. So this is quite a challenging, critical topic, because I think as a project, we would like open API so that projects can make use of each other's developed, as Thanasis already mentioned. The idea is we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There are at times so far what I have seen in projects, very specific proprietary APIs built. And I know many of you will come from the SME world where your business model is driven by your own IP that you have for a specific application maybe. But try and think what level of API you can share it and make it open source, because that is critically emphasized in this project. And that is key for our project to achieve the interoperability and to build the ecosystem that we have as our dream for TrustChain. And I'm sure my colleagues here, they are also mentoring other projects, and they might give their views based around their experience so far. But I see there are some projects clearly started to publish their open APIs already in their projects.
Yeah.
Thanasis Vlado,
if I may say something more, because I see lots of questions and lots of, let's say, stress regarding this thing. In general, any system would have to have some kind of identification mechanism. So we thought of starting with having Open Call 1 as a decentralized identity, let's say, overall area, so that we have a generic or several generic frameworks for identification purposes. That being said, we never defined that the solutions of Open Call 1 and Open Call 2 should be integrated right from the beginning. I mean, this cannot happen, obviously, for obvious reasons, I would say. But at the same time, you can easily see from the topics that we procured in Open Call 1 that the topics are around SSIs and DIDs, are around SSI and eIDAS 2 integrations and bridges, are around DAOs and identities which are kind of verified by, or credentials that are verified by communities like DAOs, stuff like that. So as long as you build a solution with your own proprietary identity management solution, which follows the principles of privacy and of this decentralization that we are talking about, then easily later one developer could replace your own proprietary solution with one that has been developed within OpenCall 1, or in any case, this is not a big problem. We can also live with your own proprietary identity management solution, as long as it follows the principles of decentralization and privacy. These are very important concepts. This is the whole thing, and this is the compatibility that we are talking about, not an API-based compatibility. Thanks.
Thank you, Thanasis and Raj. So the next question is still about the same topic, let's say. Can you please send us a link to the OpenCall 1 project repository? So I don't know.
Clearly, no.
Thanasis, if you want.
Clearly,
Yeah.
no. No. I mean, that's the answer.
Okay. Okay. So next question, is it necessary that mandatory D1 to D4 have the same name and description as defined in the guideline? Is it allowed to define D1 and D4 following the guideline, but adapt name and description according to proposal guideline? So look, these 4 deliverables are mandatory. They have specific title and specific content that we want to see. So I would say, no, it's not possible to define your own D1 to D4 deliverable. You can, in any case, add more deliverable if you want, but these 4 are the mandatory one. And this is the minimum that we expect from the applicant and eventually a future selected third party. So I think this one is done. So the next one, can OpenCall 1 winners extend their OpenCall 1 proposal with a new offering in OpenCall 2? Will they remain eligible to receive funding for OpenCall 2? So this is something also that we have explained before in the frequently asked question. Of course, it can be done. Not, however, that your new proposal, and I emphasize on new, have to clearly justify what will be different from the first project, from the first proposal. It has to be original, it has to be innovative, so quite different. As Thanasis mentioned, there should be sufficient content in your OpenCall 2 proposal to be in a way selected. So please clearly justify all these aspects. And with what regard the fund, as mentioned, if you have already been granted in OpenCall 1, please make sure to adapt your team so that part of the budget that will be dedicated to the consortium goes to you and not exceed what you can expect in in this second open call, so not reaching more than 200K with the open call one fund. So yes, I hope it was clear enough. In any case, you will not be able, adding open call 1 and open call 2, to receive more than this 200K. Next question. Would open sourcing APIs to allow interoperability with third-party application with the main architecture be sufficient? I don't know if there is someone that wants to take this question from Raj.
Yeah, I think this is, as we said, it is not that we expect everything to be. I think there are many questions down this list which keeps asking about, do we need to give everything open source? I think there is one answer that as long as there's some of the APIs can be shared, which can be used with other projects or other partners that may be funded in other calls, I think that is fine. So I think that'll answer many of the questions. So we are not expecting anyone to give away everything that they have, because most of these are proprietary software by many companies, but as long as APIs can be used, so that we don't want to keep creating in many projects the same solutions. And that's the idea.
Thank you, Raj. So next question, if the project needs to be open source and cannot be sector specific, do you evaluate the project more on the specific use case they built on it? So Vlado, do you want to take this question?
So in anyhow, if there is a mix of proprietary and open source technology, right? So the formula should be clearly stated in the proposal. So the results of the project should still be operational as a standalone component. And the proposal should clearly resolve the IPR questions in a proposed business model in the end. So all this must be made very clear in the proposal.
Thank you, Vlado. So next question was more a comment to Raj and Thanasis and overall the TrustChain, so it was a thanks. So let's move to the other one. Can we build on our existing closed source solution and open source only the part developed under TrustChain funding? So Raj, if you want.
Yeah, I think that's what I already answered, that as long as there are certain aspects of open source that's shared where other projects can make use of, so that we don't recreate some of these common frameworks over and over again. So I think, yes, that is possible. That's fine.
Thank you, Raj. So one question, it seems that we lack clarity before. So do you mean to say that we can present a mix of proprietary and open source technology proposal?
Correct, yeah.
So
Yes, but I just want to say something here. Sorry, it's Thanasis. So there is a strong requirement from NGI towards open source, and any kind of deviation from this requirement should be clearly excused, or I mean, it should be explained against some inevitability of the business viability of opening the source. So to clarify it even better, everything should be open source, except for, I don't know, some magic that without that, the business cannot be created. assuming that the magic lies into the code, while usually the magic lies into the support of services in open source communities. So in any case, I want to emphasize that you cannot easily avoid this. This is not a requirement from us. This is a strong requirement from NGI. Of course, we had patented parts of the solutions. We had proprietary parts of the solution, but still, more these exceptions were clearly explained, and let's say there were arguments for it, business arguments for it, which made it necessary for these pieces of code to be proprietary, so that the business could really run. And also, the other thing that was said by Raj is very important, which is that if there are some proprietary parts of code, then this shouldn't inhibit the use of your solutions by other people. So somehow you should be able to they should be able to download these dependencies and also run. Sorry, I have some echo, Caroline. I don't know if it's from you.
Yeah.
To download these dependencies and run the solutions, your solutions, for themselves. So any dependencies that you have, either yours or from others, shouldn't inhibit the use of the software either by us or by other people that are going to download your code. That's what I wanted to say. Of course, others may also clarify this. I don't know if Lado wants to say anything.
No, nothing. I fully agree with what you said.
So thank you for that. Next question. There is no name for D1, D4. If we would use the same description of D1 and D4 in template as it is defined in guideline, there would be problem with space limitation. Can we make it shorter? So actually the D1 and D4 are explained exactly in the guide for applicant. So as far as it keep the same sense, of course you can just shorter the name or the definition of the deliverable. But in any case, it will be the content that we are waiting for will be the one that is described in the guide for applicants. We can see the total budget of the call along with the max funding eligible per third party within TrustChain is limited to 200K euro. Is there a limit of a proposal max request budget? So look, the budget of the overall call is the one that you can see on this slide. So 1,989,000 euro that will be distributed among up to 17 selected projects. And in any case, each project can receive up to 117K euro. So this is the lump sum fund that you will receive if you correspond to the denomination of the legal entity or consortium. For team of natural person, it's a bit less. In any case, it can't go up to this amount according to the type of applicant. So everything is well mentioned in the guide for applicant. You have the two categories and you can see what you will receive according to the type of applicant you represent. And For what concerns the 200K, this is the limitation that you have if you participate in 2 open call and if you are selected, of course, in 2 open call. I hope it's clear. So the next question, still about the deliverable. To clarify my previous comment, there is no name for D1, D4. If we would use the same description of D1, D4 in template as it is defined in guideline, there would be a problem with space limitation. Can we make it shorter? You said that we must use the same name and description as defined in guideline, but in guideline, there is no name of D1 and D4, and description are too long. You should, in any case, refer to this deliverable. When speaking about D1, D2, D3, D4, you should refer to the 4 mandatory deliverable that has to be submitted to the TrustChain consortium. So this is the only thing I can tell you.
In any case, we provide updated template, which is dedicated to each call along the guidelines that were provided in the guide for implementation. We are providing the templates in, if I remember correctly, in a Word format. For all deliverables, we can provide also in LaTeX format. For all deliverables, so that it's easier for you to follow. And actually, I cannot recall if the names of the deliverables are or not in the implementation guide, but of course there are names, and the names are quite self-explanatory for all deliverables, and they are contained in the templates that we are going to be providing. So just consider that all these are just details. We are now in the 4th year of doing this. Many partners. We are here in the fourth year of doing this kind of things, of running projects in a cascade funding mode. So all these issues have been solved in the past. So let's focus on what is the real use of this call, and regarding the administrative details, just have some trust that we are able to take care of all these issues that may arise.
Thank you, Thanasis, for that. So next question, can the end user be from outside Europe? Is there a minimum number for the end user? Maybe I can give the floor to Andres for that.
Yes. I mean, as long as the end users are taken into account, they do not necessarily have to be from the European Union, since also this is an open source kind of a project. The beneficiaries from this technology do not need necessarily to be from the European Union, as far as I am concerned. And the important thing is that before you, let's say, before you set up who your users might be, you do a little bit of research of who your users could be, because sometimes the idea that we have that users could be in the end does not completely match with the end users and their necessities. I don't know if I solved the question correctly, or something else should be added.
Thank you, Andres. Maybe what I would like to also specify is that, of course, you can have some end user from outside Europe, but just bear in mind that first of all, we want, and the European Commission want, to see let's say, solution that can already apply for the European Union. So take this also into consideration when formulating and justifying the choice of your end user, so that this particular aspect can be fulfilled. So the next question: would a full open source solution that is for the public be seen as a better proposal? So I don't know who want to take this question. Maybe Raj again.
Yeah, I can have a go at it. I think it's nothing to say. I think the proposals will be evaluated based around the merit, not whether it is fully open source. So as we already discussed many times, we would like proposals, as Thanasis already, it's one of the requirements of these NGI bits is to see that you can use it because they are open source, but it doesn't mean you make it fully open source. That'll have a better advantage compared to it's a competitive call, so it's all based around the quality and the merit of the proposals to meet the objectives of TrustChain project.
Thank you, Raj. So the next question: is there an expectation that we should work with prior beneficiaries from previous call? Maybe for Vlado?
If I can answer that, there is no expectation as such. We just advise that you look at the existing funded projects, but there is no mandatory requirement to work with the previously funded calls. But if you can, then as Thanasis already mentioned, this is something that's encouraged within the NGI projects so that we don't repeat the same thing over and over again.
And
Also, sorry, Vlad, because I would forget. So I wanted to say something more that we have some particular events so that we can facilitate collaboration among multiple projects, both from the prior call and within the community of projects of this call. So we really encourage collaborations, bilateral or trilateral, of individual projects of all calls. And we have several, we have a bi-weekly meeting to facilitate this, like as a plenary meeting among all projects that have been funded. And yeah, this is not mandatory, as it was said, but it is very nice, and it's another goal that we have to really boost collaborations among you. That's the thing.
Thank you. Vlado, you want to add something or?
Yes, so because there is a certain overlap of the ongoing projects, so we are continuously in the course of the projects organizing plenary meetings where we discuss cross-cutting topics, and we care about, so all the topics would be mapped while the newcomers of the second call join our project, and you would be able to join in the ongoing cross-cutting topics, or you would be also able to suggest new topics according to the needs of the project.
Thank you, Vlado. The next question is, so we should wait for a new template for open call 2. And the two questions are the same now. So no, there won't be a new template for the open call 2. The template that you have is the one that you should use. And please, I just want to emphasize on the fact that D1, D2, D3, D4 are mandatory deliverables. they are described at one point in the guide for applicant, and what should be reflected in your proposal is this 4 mandatory deliverables, and in some extent, if needed, you can add more deliverables. But this one, D1, D2, D3, D4 are the mandatory one, and they are explained in the guide for applicants. So you please do not refer to other things when you speak about this D1, D2, D3, D4. And I just want to emphasize on the fact, once again, that there won't be a new template. The template that you have with the guide for applicant and all the documentation related to Open Call 2 are the document to follow and the document to fulfill. There will not be any new document at that point. I think there is only one last question, which is good since we are let's say more than the intended time for this webinar. So does the application have a certain structure? So the question to me is not so clear. I don't know if it is clear for my colleagues, if one want to answer.
I think the application form give us the required details in the format we need in the structure. So I think if you follow the guidelines on the application template, that's the kind of structure we expect you to follow, so that you align your structure of the proposals with the way we will score your applications.
So yes, indeed. So you have to follow, if it's answer the question, you have to follow the template that is provided to you. I think that there are sufficient detail in that template in order for you to understand what to mention where. And please take also into consideration what we said today in this webinar and in the first webinar that you can find also on the website of the project, on TrustChain website. There you have all the information. In any case, if you have a question after this webinar, you can still ask it using the contact form, and we will answer to it. So I hope we have been exhaustive enough for you to provide us with a good quality application, and also looking forward to your proposal. I would like also, on behalf of the TrustChain Consortium, to thank you for your interest in this project. And I don't know if my colleagues want to add something more before we close. It seems not. So I just wish you the best of luck, and looking forward to your proposal. Thank you, and bye-bye.